Shabbat Shalom. My name is Noel, and look who I have with me. It's Miss Pamela, the very special guest, the translator of the Paleo Hebrew, and can't really even call her really a special guest because she's just like a kind of a live-in resident here at the Unexpected Cosmology. So welcome, Pamela. Thanks for being here. How are you tonight? Well, I know how you're doing. I think I know how you're doing, but
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good.
I'm excited. So.
Yeah, and I'm really, of course, we made it to the end of Leviticus, so that's amazing. This is the last week, week 33, and I'm so glad that Pamela is here to really bail me out. Because you guys will see, it's just a section tonight. I'm so glad she's here to finish it up. And a couple things before we start. You will notice that my old website is back. How amazing is that? I listened to the viewers. You guys voted. You guys did not like the new website when we had the 90s kind of nostalgic throwback to the Monica Lewinsky period of the Drudge Report. And so we were able to get the old web. Now it needs a lot of work. We're still, but it looks pretty close to the way it was, as you can see here. And I do want to show in the store for the big celebration that you have a reason to celebrate, Rebecca and Pamela as well. And it's not coming up. Oh, please, come on. It's not coming up for me. Well, that's just great. I guess I won't be showing you guys. It always does this every time. But anyways, I wish I should have had the page set aside originally. But Pamela, finish numbers. And how do we pronounce this in the Paleo? Pamela?
Bamidbar.
Yes, so numbers is okay. Your audio is getting a little choppy there, okay. But in the Paleo, Bamidbar, and so next week we're going to be starting, and I'm going to be bringing Brahmology on. If you guys remember, Brahmology, I interviewed them a couple weeks ago. They're going to be coming on to start off numbers. And so for those of you who like to follow along in the book, unfortunately, I mean, if you were to order it on Sunday or Monday morning, whatever, not going to get it in time for the first week. That's okay. We'll get it for the second week, but just throw that out there. You guys want to order that. Hopefully next week I'll have the Torah Portions study guide available as well, which of course, matches up the KJV with Pamela's Paleo with the Greek LXX and the Aramaic Targum for all you study or Bereans out there who like to look at multiple translations. All right. Now, before I hand it over to Pamela to kick us off tonight, I've got the most amazing story to tell you guys. Hopefully you guys don't mind. And, hopefully you guys don't mind me being transparent. I'm going to be a little transparent right now. And a couple weeks ago, it was 2 Thursdays ago, I brought on Ager from South Africa. Now, I'm not putting him on the spot, but he gave one of the most brilliant presentations on the gold mysteries and the Satan's little season. I have to admit, it was he really stepped it up a notch. And I was thinking, man, if I had written any other paper, it would have been that way. It was so good. And anyways, before we went live, he asked me this question. He said, so how's your spiritual life doing? And I was kind of thrown off. Now, I've been asked this question my entire life. It's just, you get asked that question. And it's funny how when you go through life, you evaluate it differently. How I would have evaluated my spiritual life 10 years ago, 20 years ago would be very different from now. And, as I talk about conscious sin versus unconscious sin. And as we come into conscious sin, and we realize, how much in our past we had this unconscious sin, I think we judge ourselves a little bit harder, right? Because the bar is set higher, right? And hopefully we're growing in righteousness and in obedience and so on and so forth. But I would evaluate, if I were to say, how do we judge our spiritual life? If you go into evangelical Christianity, they're going to say, well, it's a relationship, right? You just got to have a relationship. Well, it's true. But that definition always kind of falls flat. It stops short of practicality. right? Like, like I want to have a good relationship with my wife, right? So we're going to be submissive to each other and obedient to each other and loving, right? These kind of things, right? I'm not going to go off and have an affair, right? That would be a very non-loving thing to do. I'm not going to beat my bride and so on and so forth, right? And so how we judge being in Mashiach, or him and us, is our obedience, right? And I'll be going over some of those verses today. Well, anyways, I was thinking about this, and the last few months have been really incredibly hard because I'm dealing with, we've gone into a ministry model where this is sole income and we're providing for Rebecca. And she actually comes into the story. And it's just been extremely hard to be able to focus on putting out good content, running a ministry, all the different people I'm communicating with, and still trying to go, yeah, you're going to provide for us, right? You're going to bring in the money. And so Sabbaths have actually become kind of difficult for me because I'm so busy working Sunday through Friday, working 6 days a week, just nonstop, working till I drop, trying to get everything done. I still can't get everything done. And then, you cease work. As soon as I'm done with these Torah portions, I cease work. Tomorrow I'm actually driving down to Georgia to meet Polly. How fun is that going to be? But I have to, when I stop working, I have to start wrestling with my thoughts that I might push aside, my emotions, things like that. And I start thinking about, are you going to provide for me? Are you going to take care of me? I mean, just last Torah portion I went through was on the Jubilee year and the Shemitah year, which is every 7 years. And then the Jubilee is the 50th year. So that'd be like, 2 Shemitah years back to back. And he's like, watch me provide for you. Right. Well, anyways, this last Monday was my wife's 42nd birthday. Can you believe that? My wife is 42. And this is the woman I've been married to since I married her when she was 19 and I was 21. So we've been married a long time. And no, we don't celebrate, we don't make a deal about birthdays or anything like that. We don't do, candles and presents or anything like that. But, leading up to her birthday, I was like, what do you want to do? You want me to barbecue for you? You want me to make you a dinner? You want to go out? What do you want to do? Let's just do something, right? Just kind of change of pace. And she decided, well, let's take a walk through a park. And I'm like, okay. So this park is about 20, 30, maybe 30 miles away. And it's this huge, like just miles of trails. I mean, this is just like off in the woods. This is just rugged South Carolina, alligator, turtle, snake territory, and mosquito territory. Like we passed maybe 7 people for the entire hour and a half we were walking through there, and they're jogging. We were the only people walking. You jog through here because if you're not jogging, mosquitoes are going faster than you. So my wife and I are just talking about, are we going to be supported? Are we going to be taken care of? Do we, because we're really, this is the faith we're really struggling with here, and while I was on the walk, I was kind of praying silently. And I said, I'm not one of those guys that like needs to see miracles and stuff like that. I'm just totally content with the scripture itself, knowing that it's true. I don't need to see miracles. I don't need to see signs, but I'm calling this one in. I need to see a sign. I need to see something. I don't request this, but I'm requesting it now. I want to see a sign that you're going to provide for us. Now, interestingly enough, after I prayed this, I felt the Ruach HaKodesh. That's a kind of interesting conversation when we hear Yahusha speaking to us, or the Father, or the Ruach. And I felt like this was the Ruach HaKodesh, my mother in heaven, speaking to me and just saying, you have all this worry and concern, and you can't, that's not going to add one day to your life. There's nothing you can do about it. So just stop. What if you just rested? You just rested in just the peace and shalom of knowing that you're going to be provided for. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna try that. And I actually had this peace that came over me. Well, this is the interesting thing about this story. This is what it's all leading to. And this ties into Agar as well as Rebecca. So we're walking through the woods. I told you we crossed paths with like 7 people in an hour and a half. We're way out there. This guy comes walking by, and he walks right past me. I'm there with my wife, my daughter, my 2 sons. And as he passes, I get this feeling like he's looking at me, and he passes me right by. And within like a couple seconds of passing by, he says, "Noel." And I turned. Sarah looked right at me, and she said I looked like I had, seen a ghost or something like that. And I thought, like, the Fed's about to jump out. I thought, this is it. Like, they're or I was thinking, like, this is like the Terminator. I've been seeing too many movies, I guess. Like, this is the Terminator. He's coming to assassinate me. This is it. I'm about to meet my death. And he had a phone, and I could see on the phone that it had the Tuck logo on it, and he was listening to a podcast. And he said, anyways, he introduced himself, and he's like, "Wow, I've always wanted to meet you." I'm like, "What? This is the weirdest thing, because I have never in my entire life been recognized in public, ever. Never. It's never happened. There's been a few times where I got the sense that people knew who I was, and they hated my guts, and they didn't want to say anything. But, like at conferences and stuff, people come up and say hi. I'm in the middle of the woods. This guy recognizes me. He's listening to a podcast. What is the podcast? I asked him, I said, "What podcast are you listening to?" He said, "The one about the gold." That was put up on Thursday night, or a couple of Thursdays ago, with Ager. And the theme of the thing was about the greed of, the gold, and how people were, you can contrast that with the true gold is seeking the Torah. I gave those scripture verses last week, seeking his word. That is the true gold that we want to seek for. And I asked him, I said, so I thought this is amazing. He's listening to the Gold podcast. He recognizes me in the wood. And I said, "What is your name?" And he said, I'm pretty sure Sarah heard you. He said his name was Fred. Now, hopefully Rebecca doesn't mind me saying that. That's the name of Rebecca's son. I thought that right away. I'm like, whoa. Like, so it was a really interesting experience. And I feel like that was a sign from Yah. Just really, I found that really encouraging. And I did afterwards, I sent in a second prayer. I'm like, yeah, okay, that was I guess that was a sign, but can I get one more? Yeah, so that just really encouraged me that I feel like Yah was telling honoring me in front of my family as well. And just, all my children saw it and everything like that, and just be like, yes, you guys have seen my numbers on YouTube. It's not like I'm getting millions of views or anything like that. So the chances of me meeting anybody out in public, let alone in the woods, is pretty abysmal, pretty, it's astronomical numbers. All right. Enough on that. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover tonight. And, so Leviticus. Last week of Leviticus. Unfortunately, last week review. This is a great way to start off the Torah portions. I don't have a last week review. It's blank. We did meet last week. We talked about, of course, Jubilees and that kind of stuff. It was a good week. But a word from our commercial sponsor, Paul. Some of you are like, I knew it. I knew his. he was sponsored by Paul all along. I knew it. But actually, this passage, I think, as we sum up Leviticus. Now, Pamela might have a very different view about this. You go like, I don't know about this. But I feel like this passage of scripture perfectly exemplifies tonight's Torah passage. And this is what he says in Romans chapter 2. All who sin apart from the Torah will also perish apart from the Torah. And all who sin under the Torah will be judged by the Torah. All right. So this is talking about the curse. Interesting enough, when we go through tonight, there's far more curses than blessings. But this is the important part right here. See, a lot of people are going to take that and go, see, he's saying that the Torah is a curse. No, that's not what he's saying. It does condemn us. It is the law. It does point out our sin. But for it is not the hearers of the Torah who are righteous before Allah Hayam, but it is the doers of the Torah who will be declared righteous. Preach it, Paul. Like that's it right there. I don't know how that can be construed into it will be construed into something else, but I personally do not see how that can be construed in any other way. And you guys have all heard it. Just this week, my wife got a phone call from a relative who was trying to argue with her. He found out that I'm running a ministry, and he's so upset about this. And he's like, He's like, you guys don't get it. You just need to believe. You just need to have faith. It's like Paul says right here. No. It's not the hearers who are righteous. It is the doers of the Torah who will be declared righteous. So, and that's what we'll be talking about tonight. Pamela, I've been taking enough of your time.
No,
I asked how you're doing.
It was perfect. I mean, if that verse is perfect to go with what I'll be talking with tonight. In relation to this is what I'll mostly be talking about is the song of Yahuwah's gifting, and I guess if we look at the book as a whole, the theme of QURA is its name. He will call out. He will call out. Now in Bereshith in Genesis, we have Abraham was called out. He was told to come to a land he didn't know. He was to leave your father's house and come to a land you don't know. In the book of Shemos or Exodus, Moses was called out. Very dramatic. Burning bush or burning crag, whichever one you think it is. He's called out. And we also saw in that one the calling out of Bezalel and Aholiab to fashion the Mashkan dwelling place. And so we have those calling out. Those happened in those other books. And today, all through these books, Yahweh, the ever living, gives his expectations of what he wants. He has said it again and again. He tells the sons of Yasharal, he says, you will exist Kudash, for I, Yahuwah, your Alahaya, am Kudash, set apart. And he explains what that means, in terms of your behavior, how you eat, the minutiae of life. And in this book specifically, in the book of QURA, Yahuwah, the ever living, he calls out the priestly tribe of La'uayam. And their duties, this tribe, these sons of Levi, to use the traditional transliteration, their duties were to guard the stations of the tent of meeting. And that was a lot of work. Not just the taking the Mashkan dwelling place down and putting it back up, but all the things that went with it. I mean, I don't know how many of you have gone camping, but if you've gone camping and I've got one of those big bell tents, the dome, and it's a lot to put up. And I think about what they had to go through with, even they had to put down the flooring, they had to put down, all this, the tent, the cover for the tent, all this stuff. So that was a big duty. And they were also supposed to guard the great priest, which was, of course, Aharon at the beginning, and they were to support him, whatever he needed. And they were also to prevent strangers or someone who's not from the lineage of Aharon from entering into the Mashkan dwelling place. They were to guard the tabernacle. That was their job. Those were their main duties: to do the stations of the tent of meeting, to transport it, the sacrifices, all these things, and to guard Aaron and later Aaron's son, and support him, and to prevent a stranger or one not from the lineage of Aaron from entering. And so we're going to be looking at, and this is a beautiful thing. That was one of the things that kind of caught me and brought me into translating, the Paleo, is I was hoping to set the Psalms to music. I was setting the Psalms to music, and so that's what I originally got into. It was the musical aspect of the language, how the language was pronounced. And it is, Paleo Hebrew is a musical language. It's very rhythmic, and it's very phonetic. And sort of my background as a musician in, international phonetic alphabet, it helped me. Stuff that who knew that my musical background would help me in those things. And so I'm really excited to be able to share with you the song of Yahuwah's gifting. And if you are ready, I'm ready to read, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll scroll along as you read.
Okay. The song of Yahuwah's gifting. And conditionally, if in my statutes you will walk, and as my commandments you guard and fashion as them, then I will gift your rain in the proper time, and the land shall gift her produce, and the trees of the field shall gift their fruit, and your threshing time shall overtake the grape gathering, and the grape gathering shall overtake seed time. And you shall eat your laham to satiety, and you shall settle down to dwell in your land unto confidence. And I will give shalom in the land, and you shall settle down to dwell, and none shall make you tremble. And I will remove evil, hurtful, living creatures from Haaretz, neither shall the sword pass through your land. And you will have pursued your adversaries, and he has fallen to your faces by the sword. And 5 of you shall pursue 100, and 100 from you shall drive away a myriad, 10,000. And your haters will fall to your faces by the sword. And I will turn myself toward you, and will make of you to bear fruit, will increase with offspring, and will flourish my berayath, which is covenant, with a few. And you shall eat old store, and the old from the face of the new. And the old from the face of the new that she brings forth. Then I will gift my Mashikon dwelling place in your midst, and my Nephash shall not loathe you. And I will walk in the midst of you, and will exist to you of Alahayam, and you will exist to me for my people. I am Yahuwah Alahayakam, the ever living, your Alahayah, which brought you forth from Aratz Matarayam, from your existing to them as slaves, and I have broken into pieces the bar of your yoke, and I have made you to go forth upright. But conditionally, if you will not hear and obey unto me, and will not fashion as all these Mahamatsuth, and conditionally, if you reject my statutes, or conditionally, if your nefesh should loathe my mashafat, for on that account you will not fashion as my matzuth, I will break into pieces, my covenant. Angry, this I will fashion for you, and will strike over you sudden destruction. Consumption and a burning fever will consume your eyes, and your nefesh will pine away, and you shall scatter seed unto vanity fruitlessly, and your adversaries will eat it. And I will set my face against you to the face of your adversaries, and your haters will tread over you. And you shall flee, and none shall pursue after you. And conditionally, if even yet to these you will not hear and obey unto me, then I will add 7 more to chastise you upon your sins. And I will break into pieces the arrogance of your strength, and I will gift your Shemayim like bonds of iron, and your earth like brass. In your substance, your abilities, your powers shall be finished unto emptiness. And your land will not gift her produce, neither shall the trees of the field gift their fruits. And conditionally, if you want to resist in a hostile manner and are not inclined to hear and obey unto me, then I will add 7 more slaughter weapons to your sins. And I have sent in you living creatures of the field, and have bereaved you of children, and have cut down your livestock. And you are diminished, and your paths are laid waste, desolate. And conditionally, if by these you will not be instructed by me, but you walk in opposition against me, then angered I will also will walk in opposition, and will strike you additionally 7 more for your sins. And I have brought upon you the swords that shall indeed avenge the covenant. And when you withdraw toward your cities, then I will send forth the utterance of the death plague in your midst. And you have been given into the hand of the adversaries. In my breaking of you the staff of Lacham, 10 women shall cook your bread in one oven, and they shall return your bread in an act of weighing. And you shall eat and not be satisfied. And conditionally, if in this you will not hear and obey unto me, and you walk in opposition with me, then I have walked with you in the opposition of hot displeasure, in the poison of anger, and I will chastise you, even 7 more over your sins. And you will consume the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters you will eat. I have destroyed your high places, and have cut down your images, and have gifted your corpses upon the corpses of your idols. And my nephesh has loathed you. And I have gifted your cities to desolation. And I have brought astonishment into your sacred places. And I will no longer breathe in the scent of your soothing acquiescence. And I have laid waste Ha'aratz. And your adversaries, which have settled down to dwell in her, shall be astonished over her. And I will scatter you as seed among the Ga'uayam. And I will send forth the sword after you. And your land will exist desolate. And your cities will have existed a ruinous waste. At that time, Ha'aratz shall graciously accept her Sabbath. All the days she lies desolated, and you shall be in your enemy's land. And Ha'arat she will Shabbat, rest, and shall graciously accept her Sabbath. All the days she lies desolate, she will rest as a powerful sign, in that she did not rest upon your Sabbath when you settled down to dwell upon her. And those who remained of you, I will send timidity into their hearts, in the land of their adversaries, and shall pursue them. At the voice of a wind-driven leaf, they shall flee as if put to flight by the sword. And they shall fall down, and none pursuing. And they shall reel, stumbling, a man on his brother like one's facing a sword. And none pursuing. And there shall not exist to you the ability of standing and resisting to the face of your haters. And you shall lose yourself, wandering lost among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall consume you. And those remaining among you shall pine away in their depraved actions, in the misery of their crimes in their enemies' lands. And additionally, they shall pine away in the guilt, depravity, misery of their fathers with them. And upon their confession of their depravity, the guilt they acquired by sinning, and the depraved actions, the guilt of their fathers with their treachery, which they have treacherously done against me, and in addition that they have walked in opposition with me. Additionally, I have walked in opposition, and I have brought them into the land of their enemies. Or perhaps at that time that their uncircumcised hearts are subdued, at the time they graciously accept the penalty of their sin, then I will bring to mind my covenant with Yaakov, and additionally my covenant with Yitzhak, and additionally my covenant with Abraham I will remember, and the land I will call to mind, I will bring to mind. And Ha'arat is forsaken from them, and she has graciously accepted her Sabbath in lying desolate from them, and they shall graciously accept the penalty of their sins, because even on account of that, they were contemptuous against my judgments, and my statutes their nephash loathed. And moreover, for this in their existing in the land of their enemies, I have not despised them, nor have I loathed them, to completely finish them, and to break my covenant with them. For I am Yahweh their Elohim, and I will remember for them the covenant of their forefathers, which I brought forth them from the land of Mitzrayim, to the eyes of the nation, to exist to them of Elohim. I am Yahweh the ever living. These are the statutes and the judgments and the Torah which Yahuwah the ever-lifting gifted between him and between the sons of Yasharal upon Mount Sayanu Yah by the hand of Mashah.
Good reading, Pamela.
Thus is that section.
Thank you for. Yeah, thank you for reading that. And of course, I'm going to hand it over to you. I don't know if you need a quick breather or something like that, but handing over to you for first commentary.
I've got some kind of crazy fly. I've got this hot light at me, and it's got a fly that's decided it wants to dive bomb me while I'm trying to speak.
Don't you just hate that?
I hate it. There was one time I was at a gospel singing. I was performing at a gospel singing, and we were at. It was Out Under the Stars. I can't remember, something about Under the Stars was the name of it. And every time I would open my mouth to try to sing, there were moths and flies trying to go into my mouth. So I'm hoping that does not happen tonight. If I choke on a fly, please. Oh my goodness. That would be terrible.
It was, I'll quickly say, I think some of you remember, I remember like Polly started praying live while I'm going through it. It was like last December, something like that. And for whatever reason, if I did the Torah portion, it was when I was in Florida in our fifth wheel, and I was going to the hotels every Friday night to do the Torah portion so I could just have the quiet, away, not have to worry about my screaming daughter or whatever. And there were only a couple that I did in the fifth wheel where we were staying. And it was in this one little corner. And for whatever reason, when I would sit in that one chair to do the Torah portions, like the end of my nose was just driving me crazy, itching. And it was the weirdest thing ever. So anyways, that just the fly incident reminded me of that. So anyways, handing over to you, Pamela, take your initial thoughts, commentary on this reading.
Oh, this fly is just driving me crazy. All right, now this section, these two chapters finishes up, of course, the book of QURA, and this this being the song of Yahweh's gifting. Now, does it surprise anyone that Yahweh is musical, that he sings? Well, I was surprised when I started translating the Psalms about how often David said that, he would cry out and that Yahweh would sing and answer. I thought that was amazing. In Isaiah 5:1, there's the song of my beloved regarding his vineyard. I always thought that was, Yah singing. Now, interesting in that the word there for my beloved is Dayah, which is David. Or Dode, the song of my Dode regarding his vineyard. So I thought that was fun. But in any event, we have the song which is definitely sung by Yahweh. Now, this is about gifts. This is about gifts. And this past week, I read this news story. There was this lady in Florida. Florida has the lottery. This lady, she won $5,000 with a lottery ticket. Well, the lottery officials withheld the woman's prize money because they claimed that she had been overpaid unemployment benefits. Well, this sort of illustrates for us that even though you receive something, that sometimes terms and conditions apply before you can receive your gift. So the first word I want to look at is the Hebrew word conditionally. Conditionally. And this is this word, it's used a lot conditionally, if. So he uses this Yahuwah, the ever living. He attaches a conditional clause to this gifting. If in my statutes you walk, and my commandments you guard, and you fashion them. Now, that first word is in the first thing, the first condition of in this conditional clause is walk. But it means a little bit more than it, not just the word walk. It can also mean to live, a conduct of behavior, a manner of life, course of action. Now, unfortunately, you may notice, some of you may notice that the word walk might be missing in your, if you have one of the QURA copies of QURA. The walk is missing. Yes, it is. No translation is perfect. This was an error on my part. But as I contemplate my mistake, usually I just, oh my goodness, I want, Rebecca and I, we've talked about how we want it to be perfect, and we do try. But no translation is perfect. We do try. We try so hard. But then as I was contemplating my mistake, I realized the spiritual significance. If you have a copy, you're going to have to put in the walk. You're going to have to put in the walk of, right there, of walking in the commandment. And so walk means your mode of action.
And not being a hearer only.
Yes, we're going to get into that, because that's a big part of this too. You have to walk it out, boots to the ground, day-to-day life. As you're sitting, as you're rising up, going out the door, coming in the door, everything. There's nothing, no part of your life that the Torah and walking out the commandments should not be touching. So the first word was walk. Walk in my statutes. The next one is shamar, and it means to guard or keep. Now, we are to keep them as in to observe them. And we observe the festivals. We had a wonderful Passover time at Noel's. And some of you may have already done first fruits. And some of you have yet to do first fruits or Pentecost. May 28th, I think it is according to the calendar that I've been keeping. But we observe the festivals. You're to guard them, to observe them, but you're also to guard them like a shepherd guards his sheep, or a watchman watches over the city. You're to tend them like a gardener tends his garden. That's all in that word shalom. And you're to honor these commandments, to walk in them. And now, like I said, they are to be part of your life. Now, in Psalms 19, and I'm reading from the Psalms from the Paleo, it says that the Torah of Yahuwah is perfect and complete, secure, upright in conduct, turning back the nephash. The revelation of Yahuwah, firm and steadfast, makes wise the simple, those who are easily enticed. The commandments of Yahuwah, the fixed path of his mouth, are upright, making glad the heart. The matzahus, the precepts of Yahuwah, are chosen, beloved, and pure, giving light to the eyes. The reverential fear of Yahuwah is unmixed, unalloyed, pure. It stands firm, ministering perpetually. The mashah Fasaya, the body of laws of Yahweh, are upright and just, firm, stable, secure, righteous, and steadfast. More to be desired are they than gold, purified gold, and sweeter and more pleasant than honey, honey dripping from the honeycomb. In addition to this, your servant shines forth, admonishing them. He keeps watch, and as a consequence, he receives great reward. So, keeping watch brings forth a reward. Now, the next one, next word situated amongst these terms and conditions is the word ashaha, which I translated here as fashion. Ashaha means to labor to work at something. It's not just do. You labor to work at it. You spend time accomplishing it. You complete the task. No UFOs. Now, what is a UFO, you might ask? It's an unfinished object. I'm a crafts person. I enjoy knitting and crocheting and quilting. Unfortunately, I have plenty of UFOs scattered around. There's one, I've got a quilt I'm working on, but I haven't completed it because I can't decide if I want it to be a table runner or a lap quilt or a full-size quilt. So my indecision created a UFO. Don't let indecision leave your walk uncompleted. So he says, on conditionally. If you walk, if you guard, if you fashion, then he will give rain. And as a consequence of the rain, the land will give produce, the trees will give fruit bountifully. And he will give you shalom, which is translated as peace sometimes. But it's more than that. Shalom is wholeness, health, prosperity. And he declares that he will remove hurtful, evil creatures from the land. Now, I am of the opinion that he's not just talking about wolves or coyotes. I told Noah I fell down a rabbit trail on this one. Living creatures. In 1 Chronicles 12 and 8, this is taken from Young's literal translation. And of the Gadite, there had been separated unto David, to the fortress, to the wilderness, mighty of valor, men of the host for battle, setting in array, target and buckler, and their faces, the face of the lion, and as roes, a roe is a gazelle, but it can also mean beautiful, on the mountain for speed. Now, in these particular lion-faced warriors, I'm not saying that they were evil or hurtful. To the contrary, this word, it says that they were separated. That means that word there is badal, and they had withdrawn themselves. They were separated. It's kind of like a self-exile from their own kind, I imagine. And they had joined David's fighting men. Now, we also have another mention of these lion-like men of Moab. In 2 Samuel 23 and 20, it mentions these lion-like men. These were slain by Benuyah. Now, this man must have been a serious warrior to have slain two of these lion men of Moab. And we see that this same incident mentioned in 1 Chronicles 11:22. Now, this is from the NASB 95. And this guy he's unbelievable. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabazel, mighty indeed, struck down the two Ariel of Moab. He also went down and killed a lion inside a pit on a snowy day. So, like it wasn't enough that he killed two lion men of Moab, two Ariel. Now, in the NASB, they put sons of Ariel, but actually they inserted that. Sons of doesn't occur there. That's an addition. So, Benuyah, he slew 2 Ariels of Moab. Now, the word Ariel in modern Israeli Hebrew, or Arayal in the Paleo, means lion of all. Now, the word all is not merely used when referencing Al Hayam. It can indicate any being of power and authority. In scripture, Mashaha sometimes had that Al Mashaha and Al Aharon. Even Pharaoh, at one point, there was an Al put in front of his name. So it can be any power or authority. Now, I'm going to mention these are, of course, not biblical texts, but the Nag Hammadi text, he speaks of a deity. I can't pronounce his name. It's Both, who was an Ariel, though it has a different spelling. Ariel is what the perfect call him, for he was like a lion. Now, in the Mesha stele, which I'm very interested in, the Mesha stele, it's circa 840 BCE. It is a Moabite stone, which is written in, it's in the Moabite equivalent of Paleo Hebrew. At that time, they were identical. And this was after David's time. And upon this stone, there's a passage which can be translated as the lion figure, Ariel, of their beloved Al, which was dragged before Shamash after the fall of the Israelite city. So we have a reference to this lion man on the Mesha stele, which is a very old artifact. Now, scripture, when I started digging into this, has a lot of references to living creatures. In the book of Bereshit, chapter 1, it records the creation. I'll touch on that in just a second. But in Ezekiel, I'm going to show you, I wish I had this where you could see it. But Ezekiel 1, verses 4 through 14, this comes from the Farrar Fenton translation. And I do like to look at a lot of different translations. And this is that moment where we are introduced to these 4 living creatures. That's the same word, living creatures. And I looked, and I saw a raging wind from the north, driving a great cloud and whirling fire flashing around it, with the gleam of polished brass in the center of the fire. There were representations of 4 beings, living creatures, in the center, and those beings each had the appearance of human forms. Each had 4 faces, and each had 4 pair of wings. Their feet, however, were perpendicular, and the soles of their feet like the feet of a calf, but sparkling like the glitter of bright brass. They also had arms like a man under their wings at their 4 sides, and their faces and pairs of wings were 4. These wings were attached together at the sockets. The men did not face about when they advanced. They went straight before each face. The form of one face was like that of a man, but the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, and the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, and the 4 had the face of an eagle. Their faces were thus. When ascending, they spread their wings. Each had a couple of wings attached together, but 2 covered their bodies. And each, in advancing, went straight before himself. To whatever point the wind proceeded, they went. They never turned face for their journey. And the living creatures, the beings, their forms appeared like burning coals of fire, like the appearance of lamps, who marched amongst the beings with sparkling fire, and lightning shot from the fire. The beings, or these living creatures, also ran and danced like lightning. So this is an amazing that these living creatures are mentioned in Ezekiel, and it's just like it's a crazy description to think of, that these creatures had 4 faces. I'm assuming, right, right, left, back, front, some sort of face. Now, in Bereshith, we find the first mention of the living creatures, and this is from the Young's literal translation. I adapted a little bit, and it says there that and Al-Hayam prepareth the great monsters, and every living creature that is creeping, which the waters have teemed with, after their kind, and every fowl with wings, after its kind, and Al-Hayam seeth that it is good. So the creation of these living creatures, it says that are creeping, but that word creeping actually means they move fast. They move fast. So I always assumed that it was some kind of reptile or something, but now I'm not sure. A living creature with, and it's interesting that they were created at the same time as dragons or sea monsters. So I thought, this is, well, and like I said, as I was researching this topic, the lion-faced men of Moab, I encountered, of course, a variety of opinions. There are many archaeological finds showing pictures of or statues of these lion men. I couldn't get my computer to share. It wouldn't insert, it wouldn't share, it wouldn't do anything. Sigh. So some people think that they might be a hybrid. Like, say, for instance, that one of these creatures, like from Ezekiel, may have joined into the genetic manipulation that happened in Genesis chapter 6, and they're a holdover, or where they were created. Were they created in Genesis, Bereshith chapter 1? I don't know. Some claim that these were simply lion-like men, and that they were incredible warriors, but still human. And they liken these lion men to something like the Navy SEALs from the United States. And usually a person's thoughts is reflected in their translation. I'm going to read Isaiah 33:7. And I'm going to read a couple of these different translations. And all of them is the same Hebrew. And the word Ariel, the lion ones, the lion of El or Al. And I'm going to read how each one of these treats this. In Isaiah 33:7, the KJV and the Sefer are exactly the same. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without, the ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The NASB 95 says, behold, their brave men cry in the streets, the ambassadors of peace weep bitterly. So they're saying brave men. They're not using lion men, they're saying brave men. The Hebrew Names version says, behold, their valiant ones cry outside, the ambassadors of Shalom weep bitterly. Farrar Fenton, he puts it as, behold, the brave shriek in the streets. The agents of peace are in tears. Young's literal translation actually uses the word Ariel. Lo, their Ariel, they have cried without. Messengers of peace do weep bitterly. And of course, my take on it is that, behold, the Ara Alam bellow abroad, the Melchayah of Shalom weep fiercely. So I was just wanting to illustrate to you that there's a little bit more to this, living creatures. He says, if you guard, I'm going to restrain these things. I'm going to restrain them. I'm going to send them out of the land. Now, to go back to the song of Yahweh, we will find inscribed for us another gift. I will turn myself toward you. Now, this is significant. I will turn myself toward you. And then, just like he said, I will send the rain, and the rain had consequences. Yah turning himself toward us has consequences. And this is what we experience: an increase in offspring. His covenant will flourish. The old store to the face of the new. Now, I'm thinking that he's not just talking about. It's not just talking about the food you stored up. This word is used 3 times in succession: Lashon, Yashon, Yashon. And I'm thinking he's talking about, I'm envisioning old knowledge, where we have this old knowledge that is joining with a new understanding. Revelation talks about how that the dragon makes war with the ones who have the commandments, but they also have the testimony of Messiah. So he says he's going the old to the new, and he will gift his Mashakon dwelling place in their midst. My nefesh will not loathe you. Now, that word loathe, ga'al, means not just to abhor, loathe, find it detestable. It means it's so loathsome that you cast it away from you in disgust. I don't know, you may have encountered that. You open up some box, something in the back of your refrigerator, and you cast it from you because it's so disgusting. And he says he will walk in your midst. And number 7, he will exist to you of Allah Hayam. And finally, you will exist for his people. 8 things. And in my opinion, it's almost like you can see what happens as we start walking out the Torah, as we start obeying the commandments. You can see that it's a progressive gifting, increase in offspring. Well, yes, it may be physical children, but it may also be, more people coming to an understanding of the covenant, and the covenant flourishes. And then the old story is mixing with the new. It's coming into the face of the new. And his Mashakon dwelling place is in their midst. Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be lovely if that were the next great thing? That the Mashakon dwelling place either reappears, or somebody like Andrew, is it Andrew Hoy?
The temple.
The temple, the thing. That they raise it up. It's raised up again. Wouldn't that be just absolutely unbelievable? And he says, my nefesh will not loathe you. That means he won't cast us away. He will walk in your midst. He will exist to us of Allah Hayam. And finally, we're once again his people. So this is the progression of the revelation from this pathway to intimacy. And it's the ultimate benefit for walking out the commandments, for guarding and fashioning the commandments. It's finding out his identity. I am Yahweh Elohai Yakam, the ever-living, your Elohayah, which brought you forth from Aratz Mitzrayim, from your existing to them as their slaves. I've broken into pieces the bar of your yoke, and I have made you to go upright. So that's the good part of the song. Do you have anything you would like to add?
Oh yeah, I got plenty here. I was while you were talking about the creatures with the 4 faces, I was kind of fidgeting. I was trying to get up. I was trying to think of that character from the Never Ending Story 2, which is super creepy. I think he was like the bad guy, and he had this square helmet, and his face kept changing, and super creepy. And I wasn't able to successfully bring it up, but that's okay. You guys can. And then somebody in here actually commented on that. So, all right, the word in here is conditionally, as you were pointing out, Pamela. And a lot of people, they really have problems with this. And I could just see people kind of like just seething at this, even, Christians, this idea that, oh my God's not conditional like that at all. But let's look at this practically. All right. Anybody here who goes and rents a house or an apartment, there is a house owner, an apartment owner, landlord, so on and so forth. You have to sign a lease. You go into there, you sign off on these rules on, I'm going to behave in a certain manner. And if I break these rules, you have the right to eject me. And that's what we have here in the beginning of our Bible. We have this kind of this lease in a way. Like, look, you want to enter a covenant with me? This is right here. Here's the fine print. Just follow this. We had a great discussion before we started in the Discord community. So anybody listening to this at any time during the week, I highly recommend you guys come by Friday night, 7:00 to Discord. People have been asking recently. They're like, I'm getting a lot of requests. Why don't you record these and then put them up online like you used to? Well, I'm thinking a lot about it, but if I did that, then people are not going to share intimately about their life. And there was just some great intimate conversation we were having tonight. One of the things that came up is we were talking about everybody seems to have this notion that this judgment is coming because Western society is just sliding off the cliff. I mean, we are just watching just unbelievable in the last 20 years, the last 15 years, really, just go down the highway, the hill, slippery slope, right off into the lake of fire. And we're all feeling like something has got to give. Something has got to happen here soon. But the thing is that when you talk to general Western Christianity, they're always thinking about judgment about these other people, not them. And this is where the Torah itself is a transformative book. This is like, imagine everybody like, no, I'm not going into the land of Israel that I know of. I don't think anybody is thinking that. We're thinking about going into eternity, right? We're thinking of the promised land of heaven, heaven on earth, so on and so forth. And we're in the same position as these individuals. And Yahuwah is telling us, hey, you want to come into eternity? Well, there's some conditions here, and it's all based upon how you act. You choose the blessing or the curse. So I do have a lot of commentary on this tonight, and I kind of withheld a lot because I know that we still have numbers ahead of us, but this whole section, the song, it reminded me of the book of Deuteronomy. It's just this idea of you choose the blessing or the curse. The early Christians, or I would prefer to call them the Nazarene, would call it you choose the way. They would call it the way of life or death, like you see in the Didache and other books. And this is something that we all choose. Even the early Christians had that same sort of language. You choose life or death. You choose the blessing or the curse. And of course, we could take this into a lot of practical examples of our own lives anyways. So let me scroll down here and find my notes. Did somebody say prosperity? People make fun of Joel Osteen. No, neither Pamela or I think, are prosperity gospel. People, make fun of Joel Osteen. It is interesting, though, that, he does advocate eating clean. So I'm just throw something out there. He does have sermons. You can look on YouTube, and he's like, stay away from the shellfish, stay away from the pork. The Yah told us to keep away from this because he talks about the blessings and the curse in very practical ways. He's like, look, this is unhealthy eating. Don't eat that way. Makes sense. All right. So we saw in here this idea of conditional prosperity. And he says here in Leviticus 26, and conditionally, if in my statutes and my commandments you guard and fashion them, then I will gift you rain in the proper time, and the land shall gift her produce. In a little bit, in a few minutes, I'll be talking more about this idea of rain. In Jeremiah, we see something kind of similar here. The idea that Yahuwah plans for us to prosper. And the context here is he's speaking to the Yahudim, and the fact that they're being vomited out of the land, they're being taken captive, just as he warns in Leviticus, and we see it all through Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy straight up says, look, this is going to happen to you. You're going to be kicked out of the land. Just telling you this. This is what he says. For this is what Yahweh says. When Babylon's 70 years are complete, I will attend to you and confirm my promise to restore you to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares Yahweh, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares Yahweh, and I will restore you from captivity and gather you from all the nations and places to which I have banished you, declares Yahweh. I will restore you to the place from which I sent you into exile. There was an interesting debate that I saw earlier this week. It actually involved Mark Sargent and this astrophysicist from UCLA. And it was a globe Earth, flat Earth debate. And the astrophysicist was a Christian, and he reminded me. It was kind of painful to watch because he reminded me of like the Christianity that I grew up in, very kind of innocent. Why would they lie to us? That kind of stuff. And one of the things that was so painful about this is he said proof that the Earth is. He actually said, like, I can't prove the Earth is a globe, and I can't disprove that it's flat, right? But he said for him, proof that the Earth is a globe, that it's not flat, is the fact that, well, number one, why would they lie? But he said that if it was, then we would all know, because then Yah is hiding it from us. And I was just like, oh man, this is painful to watch, because you can see right here, he says, if you search for me with all your heart. And from this, we learn that no, the truth does not just plop down. It could be right in front of us and we don't see it. Like it could be right there. Just like we look out at the horizon and it's flat, right? It's called sea level, right? Airplane, that kind of stuff. It's right there in front of us, but people don't see it. We're blinded to it. And we actually have to seek him out with all of our heart. And if we do that, then he has plans to prosper us. I'm going to be talking this Tuesday night, presentation on the Nazarene. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been like 5 or 6 years coming. And this will be a passage I'll be reading from. This comes from Yochanan. I am the true vine, and my Father is the keeper of the vineyard. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes to make it more fruitful. Man, I've been feeling a lot of pruning on my end recently. But again, this is conditional right here in Messiah's words. It's like you're not going to bear fruit, gone. Just like you can get vomit out of the land. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. This is how I started out talking about tonight. When we evaluate our spiritual life, our spiritual health, if we remain in him and him in us, this is how I believe we should evaluate it. Just as no branch can bear fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. So how do we know if we're remaining in him? If we have fruit, if we confess our sins, when we transgress, when we repent of it. And I love what you said earlier, Pamela, about it's not just physical children, but it's spiritual children as well. That was really encouraging. Continuing, I am the vine and you are the branches. You are the Nazarene. Come back on Tuesday night for more of that. The one who remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are gathered up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, proving yourself to be my disciples. I'm going to, I think, be commenting on this line in a few minutes. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. So I'm going to get back to that. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Remain in my love. If conditionally, you could say here, conditionally, if you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. This really hit me today when I was reading through this and kind of putting together these scriptural verses, that the Father raised up his Son from the dead. And he says here, I mean, that's our hope, right? Our hope is to be raised from the dead. And why was Yahushua HaMashiach? Why did he go into his death in confidence that his Father would raise him from the dead? Well, he says right here, I have kept my Father's commandments. And because I have kept my Father's commandments, I remain in his love. That's so powerful because he says the same thing to us, right? If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love. And the proof of the love he has for us and the fact that we are in him is our eventual resurrection from the dead. And, that's just the thing, right? We have to go through our life with that tension of, are we going to make it to the end? This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. There's another condition right there. If, conditionally, you are my friends if you do what I command you. And it just pains me, the indoctrination, the propaganda in the church, that so many people are being led to their destruction by believing that it's just a belief. You just believe in the historical Jesus, that he lived, he died, he resurrected. That's all it is, right? The cross, you use certain keywords. And many of those people do show the fruit of the Spirit. Absolutely, 100%. But so many people are being led into this destruction. It's tragic. And he just makes it so clear. You are my friends if you do what I command you. Just like we read in Leviticus. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not understand what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, because everything I have learned from my Father I have made known to you. Isn't that an exciting thought? That Yahushua HaMashiach he never said anything, and he never did anything except what he heard from his Father in front of his throne, and he saw him do. That's such an exciting thought. You did not choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. This is my command to you, love one another. So again, we're seeing in Leviticus, we'll see it in Deuteronomy. You're going to go into this land, and there's going to be fruit, and you're going to bear it. But it's almost like it's a physicality, but it's a spiritual promise as well. Now, let's talk about this fruit a little bit. And I mentioned on Thursday night, for those of you who listened to my interview with Bible Scribe, this individual named, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Papias. I mispronounce it. Is it Papias? It might be Papias. He was a really interesting figure. I believe he was Nazarene, and I believe that this is one of the reasons that he has been scrubbed from history. We have, you can look up what's called the fragments of Papias, and it's all we have left of him are quotes from different church fathers talking about this individual. And most of them are completely embarrassed by this guy. They're like, this guy is a total embarrassment. Why is he such an embarrassment? Well, he personally knew and interviewed the original apostles. He knew John Mark. He knew Kepha. He was the personal student of Yochanan, John. He was good friends with Polycarp. And interesting, my research is showing that people were embarrassed by Polycarp too. We do have a letter from him, but a lot of people I seem to have wanted to distance themselves from Polycarp. I think it's because they were Torah obedient. That's why. Well, he had a lot to say about the millennial kingdom. And Papias believed that it was coming in the near future, and that it would see the resurrection of the dead on the earth, and that it would be physical. And this is what we read in Fragments of Papias 14. It says this: as the elders who saw John the disciple of the Lord remembered that they had heard from him how the Lord taught, and I this is Greek and stuff. I'm not trying to Hebrew correct this, but they had heard from him how the Lord taught in regard to those times, and said, the days will come in which vines shall grow, having each 10,000 branches, and in each branch 10,000 twigs, and in each true twig 10,000 shoots, and in every one of those shoots 10,000 clusters, and on every one of the clusters 10,000 grapes, and every grape when pressed will give 5 and 20 meters of wine. And when any one of the saints shall lay hold of a cluster, another shall cry out, I am a better cluster. Take me. Bless Yahweh through me. In like manner, he said that a grain of wheat would produce 10,000 ears, and that every ear would have 10,000 grains, and every grain would yield 10 pounds of clear, pure, fine flour, and that apples and seeds and grass would produce in similar proportions. Guys, this is all describing the millennial kingdom. And that all animals, feeding them only on the productions of the earth, would become peaceable and harmonious and be in perfect subjection to man. Testimony is born to these things in the writing of Papias, which again we no longer have. He wrote multiple volumes. This guy actually wrote commentary on the book of Revelation and the Gospel of John. I think like multiple volumes, all scrubbed. An ancient man who was a hearer of Yochanan and a friend of Polycarp in the fourth of his books, for 5 books were composed by him. And he added, saying, now these things are credible to believers. And Yehuda, the traitor, or Judas, the traitor, says he not believing. So he's saying that Judas is listening to what Yahusha is saying about the coming kingdom, and he doesn't believe this. And he asks, how shall such growths be accomplished by Yahweh? And Adonai said, they shall see who shall come to them. Then these are the times mentioned by the prophet Isaiah or Yeshayahu, and the wolf shall lie down with the lamb. I'm going to let that slide about the wolf and the lamb there. But, all right, so let's talk about this, because the story of, again, the millennial kingdom is the same story of them going into the land, just as, you know, our promise of going into the land, right? The heavenly kingdom. And they're promised, like, conditionally, if you behave a certain way, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing, amazing, amazing place. But if you don't act in a certain way, you're going to be vomited from the land. So here we see this is the great famine of 1315, a black plague of 1346. Kind of just showed some illustrations for you. Some of the things that I think probably happened towards the end when people were, the plagues were coming down, I think, on the rebel rousers. So in Exodus 20:13 of the Aramaic Targum, it says this, sons of Yasharel, my people, ye shall not be thieves, nor companions, nor partakers with thieves. There shall not be seen in the congregations of Yasharel a thievish people, that your sons, actually, this is the 10 words, the 10 commandments, that your sons may not arise after you to teach one another to have part with thieves, for on account of the guilt of theft, famine cometh forth upon the world. I mean, on a spiritual level, you could even say, you know, are people like breaking into like people's cars in the millennial kingdom, or is there more of a spiritual kind of thievery going on? But keep reading. Son of Yasharel, my people, ye shall not testify against your neighbors a testimony of falsehood, nor be companions or partakers with those who bear false witness. Nor shall there be seen in the congregation of Yasharel people who testify a falsehood. Neither shall your son arise after you to teach one another to have part with those who testify falsehood. For because of the guilt of false testimony, the clouds go up, and the rain cometh not down, and dryness cometh upon the world. I told you I'm going to be talking about rain tonight. I'll talking about that several times, and this is the promise that if you obey Yahweh, the rain will come. We hear about latter-day rain, all sorts of stuff. This is interesting. This is a passage coming from, and so, you know, I'm pointing out here that we have these plagues, droughts, other things like that. They seem to line up with sin or rebellion that would have been happening. So again, this comes from Yasher, the book of Jasher, chapter 5. But in the latter days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from Yahweh. They corrupted the earth. They robbed and plundered each other. So there we see thievery. And they rebelled against Allahayam, common theme. And they transgressed and they corrupted their ways and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. Now, just context here. When Methuselah is the son of Enoch. Enoch is taken up to paradise, and all the people see it, the kings of the earth, and some of these kings of the earth may actually still be some angelic entities at this time. Not really sure on the timetable on that, but they basically tell Methuselah, he becomes like the first king of the world. They're like, make us your king. We want to be your king. And he's like, okay, if that's what you want. He like grudgingly takes it, and he takes the crown, and then he starts instructing them in the instructions of righteous living. And they're like, yeah, no, we don't want that. And Yahuwah was exceedingly wroth against them. And Yahuwah continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food for their support, behold, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of Elohim. And they provoked Yahuwah with their evil ways, and Yahuwah was very wroth and repented that he had made man. And at this time, the sons of men sowed the ground, and a little food was produced, yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against Elohim. So showing you here contextually that we see drought in the world because of rebellion. And the idea is that I could have shown, I guess, passages from Book of the Nazarene where Yahusha says that when the lion lays with the lamb, it's when, the kingdom has expanded really amongst mankind. The idea is that, you can't force this stuff, right? If people are just going to be in rebellion, they're going to live in the curse. And if they're going to live according to his ways, they're going to live in the blessing. We see this individually in our own lives, but we see this, nationwide as well. So you guys are all familiar with this passage, and I don't even know if I should read this just because we're going to get there in Numbers soon enough. And you see the, okay, yeah, I'm just going to skip this. I don't even know why I put this in here. But let's talk a little bit about water. And so we have, as you guys can see, chemtrailing up here. And with geoengineering, there's a lot of different theories, a lot of different thoughts on what's happening. Of course, they are poisoning us. However, I am of the opinion that it's not simply that they're just trying to poison us. I think that there is something about the geoengineering. I think that they are trying to circumnavigate Yahuwah. I mean, we talk all the time about how they control the hurricanes and the weather and that kind of stuff, right? Like they have this power to do it, and they are basically circumnavigating having to worship Yahuwah in order to produce the water cycle, condensation, precipitation, and so on and so forth. So let's look at Third Baruch, and this is what it has to say about water. And now the context here of Third Baruch is that he is ascending through the seven heavens to the different. In each of these heavens, there is a world into itself. And imagine this. I mean, think about how large our world is. So if you smash the globe into the AE map, my thought is that that's maybe a third of the realm, right? So it's bigger than that, a much larger realm. And then there's a firmament over us, and there's a heaven above us, but that heaven is not the heaven right above us. Could be 100 times bigger than our own world, right? Because we could just be like, there could be just you could think of like a bunch of worlds just all around, and then there's just a ceiling above that, right? And there's several of them. So these heavens that he's going into could be just massive, just beyond our comprehension. And when I had learned all these things from the archangel, he took and led me into a fourth heaven, and I saw a monotonous plain, and in the middle of it a pool of water. And there were in it multitudes of birds of all kinds, but not like those here on earth. So he says that these birds are very different, but then look what he does see. But I saw a crane as great oxen. I think that's really interesting because when we talk about storks, herons, cranes, the first time I came to Florida, I love seeing them like right outside my windows, the blue herons, the most beautiful, beautiful animals. And yeah, I guess storks, cranes, herons, they're all a little different from each other. But all three of those birds, it is interesting that they have spiritual connotations, kind of like the bumblebee, the bee. The ancients believed that the bee could transcend the spiritual realm as well. They could go into the afterlife. The same idea with the heron, the crane, the stork. And you guys have all seen the research, I'm sure, with the babies being delivered by storks. And the idea is that the stork is pulling the soul out of the sea of souls, and it's not like, it's not just an exoteric thing like the mom and dad are sitting there and then a stork flies in the window and, oh look, it brought a baby. That's the exoteric explanation to what they're really saying, is that the stork itself has has the ability to transcend the realm. But anyways, the spiritual realm, I should say. But I saw a crane as great oxen, and all the birds were great beyond those in the world. And I asked the angel, what is the plain and what the pool and what the multitudes of birds around it? Of course, there's probably a much greater oxygen intake up there, which would create bigger animals. And the angel said, listen, Baruch, the plain which contains in the pool and other wonders is the place where the souls of the righteous come when they hold converse, living together in choirs. So it's kind of a mystery of when we gather together and we worship, that somehow we are able to congregate in this pool in the heavens, on earth as it is in heaven. But the water is that which the clouds receive and rain upon the earth, and the fruits increase. And I said again to the angel of Yahuwah, but what are these birds? And he said to me, they are those which continually sing praise to Yahuwah. And I said, Adonai, and how do men say that the water which descends in rain is from the sea? And the angels, see, there you go, right? The water, the rain comes from the sea, right? Your whole water cycle. Kind of funny. Teaching science here in the Bible. The water which descends in rain, this also is from the sea and from the waters upon earth, but that which stimulates the fruits is only from the later source. Know therefore henceforth that from this source is what is called the dew of heaven, which apparently it's kind of, I think, a reference to Genesis there when the dew was on the ground. This is actually basically significant of heaven on earth, right? Heaven was on the earth. There was a dew that watered the whole ground. Beautiful.
I just wonder, I was thinking, the manna in the Bible, it came with the dew. Could that be something to do with it? That it
I
was
would think so, yeah.
The dew from heaven was the manna came with the dew from heaven. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was great. No, that's a great connection. Now, I couldn't help but put this in here. Thank you to the International Crane Foundation for putting this chart together and showing us all the different types. I love birds. And birds are really incredible because time and again we see a spiritual significance with birds. In where was it? The cock crow, was that the book of Adam, the testimony of Adam? I've shown it before, and maybe it was in Baruch as well. That's as the gates of heaven open up around us. There's like 24 of them or however many there are. Well, there might be 12. There might be 12, but that's a whole different discussion. As these gates open up, and so I think that when it's about 6 or 7 o'clock our time, basically when the sun is rising, that is when it corresponds with the gate above us opening up and our prayers ascend. And the references to the rooster, when the rooster crows, it's telling us the gates being opened. It's really, really interesting idea of how these birds correspond with the spiritual realm. And it says that these birds are always, worshiping. So, but what I want to talk about right now is the idea that obedience is worship, our personal obedience. And again, one of the themes tonight, I started out talking about how do we gauge our relationship with the Father, with Yahushua HaMashiach. And I think it's really difficult in our situation. One of the things I really miss about my old days in the church was communal worship. I don't experience it. You guys know I don't go to a physical Sunday church or anything like that. I have no physical Shabbat groups in my area. And so this is something I really miss, is the actual worshiping of Allah Hayam in a group. But obedience itself is a form of worship. And it says right here, this is in Psalm, what Psalm is this? This is Psalm 119. Oh, this is the big one, Psalm 119. Starting in verse 33, teach me, O Yahweh, the ways of your statutes, and I will keep them to the end. Now remember, statutes is, in my opinion, a peculiar like commands that you wouldn't know what they were unless if you knew the God you were serving. So there's judgments which are just, affecting all cultures. Torah or no Torah. There is a morality for all cultures, but there are statutes which are particular to this Elohim whom you are serving. So teach me the way of your statutes, Yahweh. Give me understanding that I may obey your Torah and follow it with all my heart. And remember, this is what Yahusha said, right? With all your heart. Yahuwah says it as well in the Torah. Direct me in the path of your commandments, for there I find delight. The idea of the path is the way. Turn my heart to your testimonies and not to covetous gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Receive me with your word. Establish your word to your servant to produce reverence for you. Turn away the disgrace I dread, for your judgments are good. How I long for your precepts, Psalm 119. And his judgments are good. And we all feel like, Western society is hanging on its hinges. I'm not a doomsday guy. You guys know that, but it just feels like something's got to give here soon. Something's got to happen. It's just getting so bad so fast. Psalm 100 says this: make a joyful noise to Yahweh, all the earth. Serve Yahweh with gladness. Come into his presence with joyful songs. And that's really what I want to show you there. The idea of serving him is being obedient to him. And it's tied in with worship. Know that Yahweh is Elohim. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and bless his name. I think that was an old one of those Maranatha songs from the 70s. Psalm 100. All right, this right here, I'm going to read this passage from James or Yaakov, chapter 2. Faith without works. What good is it, my brothers, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? So think about this. Like you're in the camp of Israel, and you guys know there's nothing new under the sun. I could show example after example where they did away with the Torah. If you listen to my Azazel presentation, I think that was just this last week. Amazing that as soon as the first king of Israel, when the kingdoms were divided, right? There was a united kingdom, and then there became Judah and the northern kingdom of Israel. The first king, excuse me for not remembering his name, he did away with the Torah. And he got rid of the Levite priest, and he instituted Azazel worship, the hairy goat people. He instituted service to them. Just unbelievable. So imagine that you're in this camp in the wilderness, and you know there are people in this camp. They go, oh, all I need is faith. I believe I see him. He's right over there. I see Allah. He's right over there. I believe that he's my God, and that's good enough. I'm good to go. And I don't need works, guys. You guys are going to lose your salvation. You're too works based over here, right? There are people arguing that. But this is what Yaakov says. What good is it, my brothers, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? The answer is no. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. So I love this practical advice right here. Spiritual practicality. If one of you tells him, go in peace, stay warm and well fed, but does not provide for his physical needs, what good is that? So too, faith by itself, if it does not result in action, is dead. So guys, this isn't about our knowledge, just going around to all the different YouTube videos and all the different things and just acquiring all this knowledge and look how spiritual I am. It's like if there's somebody outside your house that's hungry and needs taken care of, then we failed. We failed if they are not, being taken care of by us. But someone will say, you have faith and I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that Elohim is one? Good for you. Even the demons believe that and shudder. Oh, foolish man. So that's a great, this is like, I've seen this passage quoted and just twisted so many times, but it's basically saying here, like, if you believe in in Jesus and God the Father, and he died for your sins, all that stuff, that's great. That's wonderful. But if you believe that you don't have to do anything, that you don't have to show any fruit, then you actually have the doctrine of demons. You are in company with the demons. Oh, we just lost Pamela. She just beeped out. Hopefully she'll come back. And there she is. Let me bring her back up to stage. All right, you're back. I got you.
Oh, what happened?
That's okay. All right, let's keep reading. Oh, foolish man, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is worthless? Was not our father Abraham justified by what he did when he offered his son Yitzchak on the altar? You see that his faith was working with his actions, and his faith was perfected by what he did. That's a really interesting idea, right? That our belief is perfected by our taking steps of obedience. And as you guys know, I mean, I've been trying to be transparent with you guys. Like, I'm in that point right now where it's like I got to walk out my faith right now in ways that, Yah is really making us uncomfortable right now. And I have to, as much as I'm just struggling against that, I just have to just let go and go, you know what? I know you're doing this to, this is the refiner's fire here. You're gleaning, you're cutting, you're perfecting. You're chiseling at the rock to make a statue. And I just have to stop screaming and let you do it. And we all get those points in our lives. And the scripture was fulfilled that says Abraham believed Elohim and it was credited to him as righteousness. And he was called a friend of Elohim. Isn't that interesting? Because that's what Yahushua, we read that tonight, where he said, look, you want to be my friend? Then let's see some fruit. All right. Not just general belief. All right. Oh, look at this. I was trying to find a really beautiful picture of rain falling. And this, if I'm guessing right, this is probably like Tucson, maybe New Mexico. I don't know where this is. Somewhere out in the desert in the West. But I grew up in California. And in California, you don't see the big sky country like this. I grew up just with, when it rained, it would be gray skies, like a thin layer, and it's just kind of all gray. You don't see the rain falling. I remember the first time when I saw like the rain falling, like we were driving through Texas, big sky country, and you could see for miles out there, and you could just see like the portions coming down. And so that's what I love about living here in the South, in South Carolina. We just look out there and you could just see like pockets of rain falling down. It's so beautiful. But anyways, this is really what I wanted to hit on. We have different themes within the Torah. We see rain, we see trees, we see the field, we see fruit, and we see seasons. And of course, this applies to the Gospels as well. Rain is symbolic of the teaching of the Torah. And we just saw this in Leviticus 26. Trees are sometimes a symbol for people. Yashara would be a great example. The tree is cut down, the root remains, the root and the stump, and that would be Yahuwah, or you could say even Mashiach, and that the grafting back in, but also the Nazarene. That's another plug for this Tuesday. We see the field. That's the world where the seeds are planted. And we keep losing Pamela. I'm sure she'll be back. So classic examples, parable of the sower, wheat and the tares. That's Matthew chapter 13. But then we see our fruit. That would be our works, our righteousness. Give me a second. I'll show you some passages. And then we see the season. This is a really great part. So think about it like this, okay? So think about it like this. You got okay, now I'm hearing an echo, I think, on your end, Pamela. The best way to solve that is just to, okay, now it's good now. It's good now. All right. So think about the rain, the trees, the field, and the fruit, how that all ties into our behavior, our spiritual life. And then what happens from a agricultural farming perspective, the seasons is where we meet Yahuwah at his Sabbath festivals. Is that not amazing? I was thinking about it today, like, this is amazing. There are 7 times in the year where we are required to meet Yahuwah, to go face him. And these all have to do with the farming, the harvest, the planting, all that kind of stuff. So amazing. All right. Let's keep looking here. What else I have? Fruits and the Torah. All I read this passage for you earlier tonight from Yochanan chapter 15, so I don't think I'll do it again. There was something I did want to cover in here. Oh yeah, the one who remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit. Circumcised heart issue. So Yasharel is going into the land. The fruit that they were promised would be, it goes both ways. It's not just a physicality, it's a spirituality, right? It's the same thing with the Jubilee years, right? Yahuwah is like, look, you're so concerned about making money, but what if you just take that year, stop planting your crops, watch me just bring in a huge bounty. And he's not just talking about physicality, he's talking about the gold that is a wisdom and the Torah itself. We see here in Ephesians 2:10, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this not from yourselves, it is the gift of Allah Hayam, not by works, so that no one can boast. Think about it like if you're a fruit tree. You can pick any tree you want. You can be an apple tree, an orange tree, or whatever. Let's say you're an apple tree, and you're like, check out my apples. Pretty good produce, huh? You should you should try my apples, right? It's that same thing of with a papyrus, where Yahusha was saying that you're going to pluck some grapes, and then the grapes right over there be like, oh no, you think those are good grapes? We're better grapes. But the idea here is that a true apple tree would go, look, yeah, thank you. These are really great apples. Thank you. But I did nothing. I mean, this is all Yahushua HaMashiach watering me and fostering that kind of stuff, right? For we are Allah Hayam's workmanship, created in Yahushua HaMashiach to do good works, which Allah Hayam prepared in advance as our way of life. So again, not even Paul separates our faith from obedience. That's what good works is, right? It's obedience, servitude. Yaakov says in 4:17, therefore to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. This is again referring, as far as I'm concerned, to conscious and unconscious sin. He's not. I've seen this passage used to be like almost a postmodernist idea of sin, that well, to one person that is sin, but the other person, he's got liberties in Christ, and that's not. No. I don't think he's saying that. I think he's recognizing that his audience is coming into a knowledge of what sin is, transgression of the Torah, and that some people you are unconsciously sinning, and you don't know that that's sin. I think that's what he's essentially saying here. Romans 2. This is what I started out. This was the theme verse for the night. All who sin apart from the Torah will also perish apart from the Torah. So I take that to mean is, hey, you could do it with the Torah, you're still going to perish apart from it. Good job. You just did away with it. You're still going to perish apart from it. And all who sin under the Torah will be judged by the Torah, because that's what the Torah is. It judges us, right? It condemns us. And when we disobey it, we choose the curse. We are now under the curse of the law. For it is not the hearers of the Torah who are righteous before Allah Hayam, but it is the doers of the Torah who will be declared righteous. Apparently, Paul didn't get the memo. Apparently, he did not get the memo that the Torah was done away with at this point in his career. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 says, more Paul, for no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. Now, if anyone builds on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test each one's work of what sort it is. And the gold there, I think is great, because the gold, I could refer you to passages that is wisdom, that is the Torah, that is what's going to last through the fire. That's the kind of fruit we want, right? Not the straw and hay and stubble and so on and so forth. What else do I have tonight? Oh, look at this movie reference. One of the greatest movie endings of all time. I don't care what you say, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That moment when the two of them are outnumbered and like they're going to die. And they're like, all right, well, guns blazing, right? They just run out there, just firing away. And that's where it ends. You don't know if they make it or not. I thought of another movie, The Seven Samurai, which, of course, for all, a whole side discussion is about how the American West is all based on Japanese samurai films. That really, like, I told this one guy that recently, an older gentleman, and I was trying to discuss cinema with him, and our idea of the American cowboy is actually not true. It's actually based on Japanese films, and he was like so crushed. And he looked it up. He's like, "Yeah, you're right." But anyways, the Torah and the 5-man army. We saw this tonight. And if you're wondering why I put like a single knight fighting these demons in Hellmouth and that kind of stuff on the cover of tonight's video, it's because I was referring to this here. And we read this in Leviticus 26:7. It said, "And 5 from you shall pursue 100, and 100 from you shall drive away a myriad, 10,000, and your haters will fall to your faces by the sword." Now, I stress this again, time and again. Math is not my strong suit. When I was in high school, it was recess and lunch. That was my strong suit. And I say that because that's actually, I ate lunch with my wife every day in high school. And so that was my strong suit. But I did some math on this. I brought up the calculator. 5 divided by 100 is 5%. And 100 divided by 10,000 is 1%. So that's kind of interesting. What we're actually seeing is an exponential increase. What I'm saying is the math is not accurate here. So apparently the rabbinical commentators and others have looked at this for a long time and go, okay, so 5 will pursue 100, but then 110,000. And so it just seems like there's strength in numbers in believers. Well, let me give you an example here in Matthew 18:20, popular passage. It says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there among them." Now, this is 2 or 3. This would be like the 5 going up against 100. But what happens when you get 100 in his name? Or you're going up against 10,000. So it's an exponential increase. So just going over a few passages on this idea, Psalm 133 says, "Behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony." Psalm 133. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to skip through these. 1 Corinthians 1:10-17. "I appeal to you, brothers, in the name of our Adonai, Yahushua HaMashiach, that all of you agree together, so that there may be no divisions among you, and that you may be united in mind and conviction." I want to really focus on this here for a minute. "My brothers, some from Chloe's household have informed me that there are quarrels among you. What I mean is this: individuals among you are saying, 'I follow Paul, I follow Apollos, I follow Kepha, or I follow Mashiach.' Is Mashiach divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Were you baptized in the name of Paul?" And he goes on from there. Man, these quarrels still happen to this very day. I'm actually surprised that there are not like some sort of movements out there. I don't know if it'd be charismatic or what, that they're actually not baptizing in Paul's name at this point. So this is what we need to remember when we go out there and I talk a lot about being divisive in other communities. I'm not just talking about my community. I'm wrong ministry. I would not go to any other ministry. Like, I hope you guys never see me doing that. Let's say it's a ministry I actually disagree with. Why would I even be there? Why would I be there to sow discord and that kind of stuff? When we go and do that and we sow discord and we are causing divisions, we are now no longer unified, and we are going down to this number here. We might have the 5 and 100. That's great. But let's have 100 against 10,000. You guys see that? Let's actually have strength in numbers. And this is what the enemy wants. The enemy wants to make it so that not even 2 or 3 are in unity together. And what do I else? I'll skip this for lack of time. We are running out of time. We still have more Torah portions to read. So I'm going to go ahead and thank you, Pamela, for your patience while I went through all of that. And I'm not sure either one of us don't have a lot of commentary on this last part. So I'll go ahead and.
I think we were both kind of focusing pretty much on the same thing about to being hearers and not, being doers, not just hearers of the word. Yeah. Not that they hear, they understand, and they obey. That that this gifting of Yah is conditional, and that, you know, just like in Deuteronomy later, life and peace, death and destruction, and that's most of what I focused on. But yeah, let's go ahead and try to finish the read.
Yeah. Were you telling me today too about the different gifting of spiritual gifts that were there?
You choose. You
Yeah.
choose the gifting. The gifting that we get. You're going to get a gift. You're going to get a gift, and it's not a gift that you can. You know, we've all had those kind of gifts. You know, that we didn't really want. It's not a gift that you can turn away. It's not a gift that you can re-gift, and you certainly can't donate it to Goodwill. You're going to get it, and you make the choice of which gift you want, and you make that choice with your actions. If is that conditional, the terms and conditions apply. If you walk in His statutes, if you guard and keep, if you fashion them, if you hear, understand, and obey His commandments, all this stuff, then the gift, the good gift, is going to be yours. If you don't, it's just like you said, you know, the rain. In this, it talked about, while you were talking about the rain cycle. He says, I want to gift you a heaven of, you know, the heaven is going to be like iron or like brass, and the earth, you know, it's hard, and there's no fruit being produced, and that's what you're giving. You decide what gift you want, and it's by your actions.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's finish this reading tonight. The laws of personal vows, chapter 27. Of course, this will end the book of Leviticus, or QURA. And Yahuwah, the ever-living, set words in order to the sons of Yasharel and declared toward them, if a man consecrate an avowed sacrifice in assessing the nafashath unto Yahuwah, the ever-living, and your assessment shall exist thus: a male from son 20 years and until a son of 60 years, and your assessment shall be 50 silver shekels after the shekels of the Kudash. And conditionally, if it be female, then your assessment shall exist 30 shekels. And conditionally, from a son 5 years and until 20 years old, then your estimation of the male shall exist as 20 shekels, and for the female 10 shekels. And conditionally, if from a Kadash, even until 5 years old, then your assessment shall exist 15 shekels of silver, and your assessment for the female shall be 3 shekel layam of silver. Let's see, what did you put there for that word, Pamela? Plural form of shekel. Seems pretty self-explanatory. And conditionally, from offspring 60 years and higher, if a male, then your assessment shall exist 15 shekel, and for a female 10 shekel layam. And conditionally, if he pine away from your assessment, then he shall stand to the face, and the priest shall assess off him according to the rate which the hand of the one vowing can reach. The priest shall assess him. Vows upon animals. And conditionally, if he bring near a beast, which he brings near as a gift unto Yahuwah the ever-living, all that which he gives from such shall exist Kudash unto Yahuwah the ever-living. He shall not alter him, and he shall not exchange him in excellent with a deformed, or perhaps a deformed with an excellent. And conditionally, should he exchange beast with beast, then both it shall exist, and that which is exchanged shall exist Kudash. And conditionally, if it is any unclean beast of which they do not bring near as a gift offering unto Yahuwah the ever-living, then he shall stand the beast to the face of the priest, and the priest shall assess it, whether it be good or whether it be deformed. As you, the priest, assess it, so shall it exist. But conditionally, if the kinsman redeemer redeem it, then he shall increase a fifth part over your assessment. Vows upon houses or land. And if a man consecrate his house to be Kudash unto Yahuwah, then the priest shall assess him, whether good or whether bad, like that which the priest shall assess him, so shall he stand. And conditionally, If the one making it Kudash will redeem his house, then he shall increase a fifth part to your assessment of silver over it. So shall he exist for him. And conditionally, if from the field of his possession a man will consecrate unto Yahuwah the ever-living, then your assessment shall exist to the mouth of his scattered seed. The value of a, what is that, Pamela? A kamar shall be hamar.
Yeah,
Shall be,
they call it Homer. Some people pronounce it Homer.
yeah.
But it's actually Hamar.
Shall be 50 shekels silver conditionally. From the year of the Yahwabal, that would be the Jubilee, he makes Kudash his field. According to your assessment, so shall he stand. But conditionally, if following the Yahwab, how do you pronounce that? The Jubilee?
I don't have. Let me see if I can see it. Yahwabal.
Okay, Yahwabal. He make Kudash his field. Then the priest shall compute the silver over the rate of the portion of years remaining into the year of the Yahwabal, and it shall be diminished from your assessment. And conditionally, let me scroll up here. And conditionally, if as the kinsman redeemer shall redeem him, then he shall increase a fifth part of the silver of your assessment unto him, and it shall confirmed unto him. And conditionally, if he will not redeem the field, or conditionally, if he has sold the field to another man, it shall not be redeemed repeatedly. And the field in the going forth in the Yahwabol shall exist Kudash unto Yahuwah the ever-living, like a field devoted. She shall exist for the priest's possession. And conditionally, where was I? Oh, if the field he purchased, which is not from the field of inherited possession, he will make Kudash unto Yahuwah the ever-living, and the priest shall compute to him the price of purchase until the year of the Yahwabal, or the Jubilee, and he shall give your assessment in that day, Kudash to Yahuwah, in the year of the Yahwabal. He shall return the field unto whom purchased it, from him of whom the inherited possession of the land belongs. And all your assessments shall exist according to the shekel. Certainly, the firstborn and beast, which is unto Yahuwah, no man shall consecrate him, whether ox or whether sheep, it is unto Yahuwah, the ever-living. And conditionally, if in unclean beast, then he shall redeem it according to your assessment, and he shall increase a fifth part over him. But conditionally, if he be not redeemed, then it shall be sold according to your assessment. Certainly, all devoted which a man shall devote unto Yahuwah the ever-living, from all that which is to him from Adam and beast, and from the field of his possession, he shall not sell or redeem. It is most set apart unto Yahuwah the ever-living. All devoted which he will devote from Ha-Adam, it is redeemed, he shall slay it. The 10th part of the land. And all from the 10th part of the land, from the seed of the land, from fruits of the tree, it is for Yahuwah. It is Kudash unto Yahuwah, the ever-living. But conditionally, if a man as kinsman redeemer will redeem from his tithe, he shall increase his fifth part over it. And all from the 10th part of the herd or the flock, all which he will pass through beneath the rod, the 10th part shall exist Kudash unto Yahuwah, the ever-living. He shall not contemplate, inspecting whether it is good or bad, and he shall not exchange him. But conditionally, if exchanging, he shall exchange him, then both it shall exist, and the exchange shall exist Kudash. He shall not be redeemed. These are the Matzawath, which Yahuwah the ever-living established into Meshahah toward the sons of Yasharel in Mount Sayuniah. And it always reminds me of like Sayuniah, or goodbye type thing. We kind of finished that right there. Now, I put here week 22, and you could refer back to this. And I knew I would get to this point and not have enough time to talk about it. But in that video, I actually quoted from this chapter extensively, and I talked about the virgins serving at the tabernacle. So if you want commentary on that, you can go back to that video, check it out. And what I showed there in Leviticus 27, here's Matthew Henry commentary. And I made the case to actually the Virgin Miriam, the mother of Yahusha, and how we have text that talk about how she, according to the infancy gospel of James or Yaakov is one of my favorites. There's infancy gospel of Matthew, and also the gospel of, or it would be the whatever, it's the gospel of Mary or whatever, not the Gnostic version. They all talk about how she, as a young girl, was given to the temple. And I've pointed out this chapter that that young boys and girls, we know that was Samuel, could be devoted to the temple. And we see here, Matthew Henry commentary, the case is here put of persons vowed to God by a singular vow. If a man consecrate himself or a child to the service of the tabernacle. Oh, okay. I guess I put the wrong quote here. It should be, he talks about young boys and girls. So you can see that there's James, First Samuel. We know Samuel was dedicated. All right. Yes. Skipping all that. You know, and the amazing things about these Torah portions, I say this week after week, and Pamela, you know this too, that it's like there's so much in this stuff. There's just no way to break it all down in every single week. It takes a lifetime. It just takes a lifetime of going through this, and we see more and more and more. I can't wait to do this again next year. We'll do Leviticus next year. We're starting Numbers next week. So that's all I have. Pamela, what did you want to end on?
Well, like you said, there was so much. We simply ran out of time. There was so many more things to talk about in terms of the song of Yahuwah. It begins with if you do these, conditionally if you do these things, and then in the center of it, like a good song, you've got this 3-part song. In the beginning, you've got this, an introduction, and then in the middle you've got all this dissonance and development in which the person is not following the commandments. But then he ends with this ray of hope. He tells us, if you call to mind the things that you've done, basically if you confess and repent, you can be brought back again, and I will turn back to you. And then everything that he wanted to do for you, he will do it. And so that's the hope that we have, the hope in our own lives when we mess up. And the hope, I know that a lot of you are like me. I'm the only person in my family that is trying to follow Torah. And sometimes it breaks your heart. But you have to realize and have the hope that Yah will receive anyone who comes to him. And as you said, they have to seek him with all their heart. So I enjoyed it. And I appreciate you having me with you, and I appreciate everyone who appeared and came and read along. I get jazzed sometimes. Thinking that people are reading. I never thought this would happen. I never thought anyone would, when I started doing this, I never thought anyone would. I thought I was doing it for myself, that I would be the only one reading these translations. So it's amazing. And I have to give all credit to Yahweh, and I have to give all credit to Hakamaha, wisdom, and Biyanaha. I have to give credit where credit is due. And so I thank you, Noel.
Well, you just have Deuteronomy left to translate, and you've done 4 of the books of the Torah, not including some Psalms and others. But that is a huge accomplishment. And I think that you need to take when you finish Deuteronomy, you need to take a big vacation. I don't know what, but you need to take some big vacation somewhere, on the beach or something, sipping some sort of drink out of a coconut or just something like that,
Not
and
alcohol.
I was, and not alcohol. Yeah. And it's okay to say that, well, your vow, right?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, Pamela has taken a Nazarite vow. So yeah, no grapes, right? No alcohol, no grapes.
Nothing like that.
which we'll get to in Numbers. We'll be talking about the Nazarite vow. I was going to say one more thing. Oh yeah, and this is just something that I'm, I started out talking about how, show me a sign, right? The thing is, though, Pamela, when you came along and you were just saying that you didn't think anyone was going to read your translations, but like what you're doing is a true gift to people, to this ministry, and this is a true sign that Yah is blessing this ministry. And so I appreciate everything you do. I know many people out there just really have been barak is, I think, the word that you'd prefer rather than blessed by your fruit and your work, your dedication, your loyalty. I mean, guys, everyone know, like, she has been keeping ahead of this. I've been struggling just to get through each week these Torah portions. I don't know if you're whining about it, like, oh, this is so hard. She's actually translating this ahead. So she's trying to get ahead of Deuteronomy now, right? So she's finished Numbers. We got that in. Now we're going through Numbers starting next week, and she's going to be she's like a slave over there in Alabama, trying to get it done for us in time. So anyways, yeah, thank you, Pamela. And we'll do this again. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Have a restful day. I'm excited. I get to go hang out with Paulie tomorrow. I'm going to be driving out to Paulie's house in Georgia and getting a few hours with him, getting a few hours. It's getting late. Stephanie was saying here she's seeing double, which is usually what I see by this point of the night too. So good night, everybody.
Good night. Shalom, shalom.